Is there a place for the individual in the military? That's what I'm going to discuss today with Bad Batch Season 1, Episode 14, War Mantle. Overall, I thought this episode was the best one so far. The theme of individuality is pertinent to the clones' struggles to break free from the grip of the rising empire and find their way in the galaxy apart from the Republic. And it artfully lays out the key to the clone army's success and why the coming army of Stormtroopers will not be as lethal on the battlefield. I'm Nate, and this is my YouTube channel. If you like the content in today's video, hit the like button or leave a comment to tell me your thoughts. Episode 14 was released on July 30th, 2021 on Disney+. In this episode, the Bad Batch head to Daro at the request of Rex to investigate a distress call from a fellow trooper. The episode is directed by Stuart Lee, who's directed 6 episodes of Bad Batch now, and the script was written by Damani Johnson, who's produced for the TV series Star Trek Picard. This is his first writing credit with the Bad Batch. The episode starts on an unknown planet where a clone trooper is being hunted. Running through the dense forest, he is pursued by what seems to be an unknown enemy using massiffs to track him. Massiffs are dog-like reptilian creatures known for their hunting skills. They've appeared several times in the Star Wars universe, most notably in the Clone Wars and the Book of Boba Fett. The clone plants a distress beacon, then heads deeper into the forest, where he is finally captured. Then we see the legs of his pursuers and realize that they are fellow troopers. On the Havoc Marauder, the guys are returning from a mission for Sid. Hunter spins his knife with his fingers as Omega watches, to which she wants to emulate him. Wrecker states that they're being hailed by Rex, asking them for help. A fellow clone trooper is in distress. Rex has little time to spare and seems to be under pressure and hiding out. He sends them the clone's distress signal. The signal is coming from CC-5576 on the planet Daro, a planet in the Outer Rim which text says is a terrestrial planet with no known settlements or installations. A conversation starts between the guys on what to do. Hunter questions why they would go all the way to the Outer Rim to help a trooper with little to no reason why. Echo says if Rex is asking, then the clone needs help. Tech reminds the guys that they are in the middle of a job for Sid, and deviation from that job will result in no compensation, which means no food. Wrecker seems to be the inner voice of the audience as he sees the logic behind all of their arguments. Omega speaks up and notes that Rex's friend is in trouble. They need to help. As usual, Hunter relents to Omega's compassion and agrees to check the distress signal. On Kamino, Crosshair reports to Rampart that the operation is on schedule. They stand in a hangar as crates of gear are being loaded onto transports, some of which are taking off. We don't know what the gear is or where it's headed, but we get the idea that the Empire is vacating its footprint on Kamino. Rampart tells Crosshair to ensure all the clones are mobilized. Crosshair asks what to do with the Kaminoans, to which Rampart responds to keep an eye on them. They have their orders, which we are not privy to just yet. Lama Su watches the two talk from across the hangar. His concern is visible, as he does not know what the future holds for him and his people. Inside the halls of the cloning facility, Nelise escorts a squad of young clone troopers. One asks her why they are leaving if they are prohibited to leave. She states that their training will continue somewhere else. The clone child then asks a prudent question. Will they still be soldiers? Though she tells them they were made to be soldiers and that's what they will be, the concern on her face tells us she may know what their future holds. She looks up and coming toward her is Lama Su. Nelise breaks away and joins Lama Su in his office. And here we get to the theme of the episode, individuality. It's often assumed that members of the military are brainwashed and programmed to follow orders, to be another cog in the wheel, a mindless robot, or an unimaginative henchman. Even Crosshair's moniker, "Good soldiers follow orders," repeats this sentiment. But when Crosshair says it, we know that the idea is twisted. Good soldiers do follow orders, but good soldiers are also responsible to know the difference between a good order and a bad order. Members of the military are expected to differentiate between right and wrong, make moral decisions, and have integrity. When they sign on the dotted line to join, they are signing a contract with the military. The members' part of the bargain is to relinquish a few personal rights and dedicate oneself to the larger institutional goal, to protect the nation and its people. The military's part of the bargain in the contract is that it will not abuse the members' oath and promises to command with integrity, make sound moral decisions, and issue good orders. Though military training is designed to break a soldier down and build them back up with the values the organization holds, The crux of this process leans heavily on the member's sense of self, or rather, individuality. Soldiers are expected to make split-second decisions in the heat of battle, often without the oversight of their commanders. Though it may seem like brainwashing, military training is designed to raise up soldiers with a common problem-solving toolkit. Soldiers are expected to have reverence for their fellow soldiers and fellow human beings, whether they are civilians or the enemy. Soldiers are also expected to be mission-focused. Mission focus is the best way to keep unit integrity during the chaos of battle. This is easily displayed in sports, where the overall goal is to win, but the steps to getting there are by scoring points, or rather the achievement of minor objectives. But teams don't work well when everyone is the same. A championship team, or to get back to the issue of military units, a top-notch combat unit is good at what they do not because of their training, but because each member has learned to use their strengths efficiently and they know where they fit in best. Thus, they are able to train at higher levels and fill the gaps left by their fellow soldiers' weakness. In order to achieve this level of professionalism, a soldier needs to know who he is and who he is not. This is why so many military indoctrination programs have selection and assessment phases to their training. Navy SEALs have Hell Week, which is week 4 of 26 weeks. Green Berets have the Special Forces Assessment and Selection course just to get into Special Forces training. Marines go through the Crucible before graduating boot camp, and midshipmen from the United States Naval Academy go through sea trials at the end of their first year before they can become upperclassmen. These events are assessments that not only test a soldier's ability to conform, but also evaluate their ability to know who they are. A good soldier must know who they are in order to be a team player. No good soldier will be able to react to a difficult situation with the appropriate response if they don't know what they are capable of. In this scene with Nayla Se and the young clones, we see that the young clones understand who they are and what they will be capable of someday. Lama Su tells Nayla Se that the Empire has canceled all their contracts. Nayla Se reminds him that their cloning operations are known throughout the galaxy and they will find other customers. Lama Su isn't convinced though. He states the Empire is not like the Republic. He fears the Empire will destroy them rather than let their technology be bought by competitors. He orders Nayla Se to gather essential personnel and he will find a way for them to escape. The Havoc Marauder arrives on Daro. The guys discuss the mission. Hunter notes that they are risking a lot for a clone they do not know. Echo states that Rex trusts this clone and he, Echo, trusts Rex. They land near the distress signal and start their search. Omega finds the beacon, but there is no trace of the clone trooper. But Hunter's tracker senses show him otherwise. Soon Hunter is hot on the trooper's trail. The trooper was dragged. They come upon a mountain to which Hunter suspects something to be inside. Tech checks his scanner, which is being jammed, indicating something is indeed inside the mountain. Hunter then orders Wrecker and Omega to go back to the ship. Because of this scene, we know that the episode belongs to Hunter. Throughout the series, Hunter has been struggling to find the path for his squad. In this episode, he literally finds the path which leads him and his squad to the captured clone. Though he does not realize it, we do. Throughout this series, we've been evaluating Clone Force 99's overall mission. They've solved the problem of their own inhibitor chips, and since then, they've had several episodes which touch heavily on the question of saving their brother clones. And in this episode, they get to do just that. Hunter develops because he sees the path that he must lead his squad on, and by the end of the episode, he gets a taste for where that path leads. Hunter, Tech, and Echo scale the face of the mountain. Upon reaching the top, they find a military base hidden inside the crater of the mountain. They move in to get a closer look and find an installation that is much larger than the one might expect. Echo spots some commando troopers and a few squads of clone troopers with updated armor. Tech notes that the compound is heavily fortified inside the crater and nearly impenetrable. Hunter makes a call to return to the Havoc Marauder and send a message to Rex about what they found. Echo wants to save the clone though. Tech notes that they don't know if CC-5576 is even in the compound or still alive. Hunter states that they would be going in blind, but Echo reminds them that they rescued him from Skeko Minor under similar conditions. Hunter and Tech know he's right. Back on the Havoc Marauder, Wrecker and Omega play a strategy game. Omega is impatient with Wrecker's hesitation to make a move. Wrecker says he's thinking though. Over the radio, Hunter contacts them, saying they have found a base and are going to infiltrate it. Omega wants to join them, but Hunter tells her that she and Wrecker need to stay on the ship to be reinforcements. Back with the guys at the compound, they discuss how they will get inside. Tech needs to find a database access point to find out where CC-5576 is being held. They find an elevator shaft and sneak into the facility. At a data port, Echo searches the database, but the encryption is new and it takes a bit. As Tech and Hunter hide in the shadows, a squad of troopers pass them. The troopers, with their updated armor, look similar to the Stormtroopers in A New Hope. Even better is that the soundtrack we hear is also reminiscent of A New Hope. All of this gives us the idea that we are seeing the change from the clone army to the army we find in Star Wars Episode 4 A New Hope. Echo breaks the code and finds a muster report: 50 clone commandos and 1,000 TK troopers, which none of them are familiar with. But we know that these are the Imperial Stormtroopers from A New Hope. Echo finds CC-5576's location and they head out. In the cell block, CC-5576 tries to convince his guard to get him some food. The TK trooper calls CC-5576 a traitor, to which he responds, "That's Captain Traitor." The guys show up after roughing up the guard. They ask if he's CC-5576. They tell him that Rex sent them, and CC-5576 introduces himself as Gregor. Gregor is someone we've seen before, as he has made several appearances in the Star Wars universe. He first appeared in Season 5 of The Clone Wars, in which he went missing in action. We run across him again in Season 2 of Star Wars Rebels, in which he is living in an AT-AE walker on the planet Selos with Rex and another former clone trooper, Wolf. In the Clone Wars series, we see the theme of individuality over and over again. Though they are designed to be the same and expendable, the clones repeatedly find ways to show their individuality. They come up with nicknames for themselves, they paint their armor, they develop unique voice inflections. During battle labs, they identify their weaknesses and assess themselves. Only individuals who understand who they are can do this. If the self-aware individual soldier is the midpoint of the spectrum, to the far end in one direction is the selfish soldier, whose mission focus is himself. They are destructive and tear military units apart. This is the officer, such as Rampart or Tarkin, who does not understand himself enough to see his own ambition and weakness, things we all have, nor does he have the wherewithal to regulate himself. Though others see his flaws, he works tirelessly to get others to believe the lie that he is telling himself about how he sees himself. To the far end in the other direction is the soldier who rejects his own individuality in lieu of an identity established by others or the organization. This is the soldier that blindly does whatever his leaders tell him to do without thought. He does not understand himself, nor does he want to. He looks to others to tell him who he is. The guys sneak through the passageways of the compound, being careful to avoid contact with any TK troopers. As they move about, we see that the Empire is looking more and more like the Empire that we find in A New Hope. And the soundtrack, again, is reminiscent of the scenes where Luke, Han, Leia, and Chewie sneak around the Death Star. They reach the spot where they can board the lift and get to the top of the mountain. Just one problem, though. The TK troopers are gathering for inspection and blocking the path. Tech says he can create a diversion to get them to move. Though the scene moves well, I wonder why they just couldn't have waited, or with an inspection going on, they have a clear path to any part of the compound. Why couldn't they find another way out? Tech tries to hack into the database, and Gregor notes that the guy's armor makes them look like CC troopers. Hunter tells them that they are CT troopers. Gregor calls them defective clones. He further states that he thinks the real defective ones are the troopers who want to stay in the compound. Echo asks Gregor what his assignment was, and Gregor responds that he was an instructor. This gives us a clue that the compound is a possible training facility for the clones' replacements. Suddenly, a security alert is triggered. Gregor tells Tech that clone codes don't work there, and a shootout ensues, with the TK troopers using their blasters and the Bad Batch using their blasters set for stun. One of the TK troopers falls unconscious and his helmet comes off. Tech notes that the new troopers aren't clones. Gregor tells them that the TK troopers are their replacements. Then he leads the guys through the facility. When they get to the lift, Hunter asks what Gregor meant by the TK troopers being their replacements. Gregor explains that the clones are soldiers of a republic that doesn't exist. The recruits come from all over the galaxy and swear loyalty to the Empire. He states that they are not as skilled as the clones, but there is an endless supply of them. With this, we get the sense that these new soldiers are the type that have rejected their own individuality for one the Empire will give them, and thus we end up with the Stormtroopers of the Galactic Empire. Their armor is devoid of individual and unit insignias, and they die like nameless henchmen, which is why the opening scene only shows their legs, and the only time we see one of them without a helmet on is while he is unconscious. Though the TK trooper has rejected his sense of self, we know the truth of who he really is. The lift reaches the top and the doors open to reveal a clone commando with a squad of TK troopers. Gregor activates the lift to go down. They need to take a different route. On the Havoc Marauder, Omega paces about as Gonki waddles and moans. Omega chides Wrecker for his ability to stay so relaxed. Wrecker states that he's charging up before he charges in. Omega is anxious though. She wonders if something went wrong, since they haven't heard anything from the guys yet. Wrecker assumes that the guys have everything under control. Back in the compound, Hunter and the guys are taking heavy fire. They certainly don't have everything under control. The clone commando sneaks around a lift and ambushes the guys, shooting Gregor in the chest 2 times. The guys pummel the commando with several volleys of stun rays. The clone commando falls incapacitated, but a squad of TK troopers closes in. Hunter and Tech help Gregor to his feet and lead the way to a control room. Tech blasts the controls, locking the door. Echo notes that all egress points have been blocked off, and Tech finds the reactor conduits, which should lead to the exhaust port. Gregor notes that the exhaust port is halfway up the mountain and they won't survive the jump that high. They enter the conduit and make their way to the exhaust port. Echo asks Gregor how he ended up at the facility. He tells him that he was sent there to train new troopers, but quickly realized he wanted out. Back on the Havoc Marauder, Hunter calls Wrecker and Omega to come get them. Omega is relieved they sound okay, and Wrecker is finished charging up and ready to charge in. In the control room, a clone commando and his squad of TK troopers find the damaged conduit vent and notify the facility how the guys are going to escape. Now at the exhaust port, the guys see the Havoc Marauder approaching. However, the Empire isn't going to let them escape that easy. Several ships launch from hangars inside the facility. The TK troopers that were in the control room have entered the conduit and find the guys at the exhaust port. A gunfight ensues. Omega positions the Havoc Marauder next to the exhaust port to rescue the guys. As the guys fight off the TK attackers, Wrecker provides heavy gunfire support. Tech and Gregor jump to the Marauder as several enemy fighters engage them from the air. Tech takes over for Omega and he flies the ship to draw the fighters away and allow Wrecker to shoot them down. Their shields take a hit and Omega uses Gonki to power them up again. He comes back around to pick up Echo and Hunter, who are still engaged with the TK troopers at the exhaust port. Echo jumps across, but as Hunter jumps, the ship takes a hit and Hunter gets jostled free. He falls down the face of the mountain, with tree limbs and rocks breaking his descent. In the air, Tech artfully maneuvers the ship as enemy fighters pursue them. This scene shows some great aerial combat that reminds us of movies like Top Gun and the space battle above Endor in Return of the Jedi. The way the Havoc Marauder shudders when its port engine fails looks lifelike. In the midst of the dogfight, Hunter lands on the ground where he notices a troop transport nearby. Tech states they are losing systems on the Havoc Marauder, and they can't take any more hits. Wrecker takes out more fighters, and Hunter tells Tech to get the ship out. Tech refuses, but Hunter orders him to leave. Omega then pleads with the guys to turn around, but Hunter is already surrounded by a squad of TK troopers and their massives. And here we see how individuality and following orders plays out. Both Tech and Omega have displayed a sense of self and a development of individuality, but Omega has not fully developed a true sense of what she is capable of and what Hunter and the guys are capable of yet. But Tech has. He knows that if Hunter is telling him to leave, he needs to leave. The Havoc Marauder jumps to hyperspace and we cut to Lama Su on Kamino. Rampart makes a clearly unplanned office call with Lama Su. He claims Lama Su made a promise to fully cooperate with the Empire, but he is apparently not. The doors open to Crosshair's Dark Troopers, escorting Nayla Se under arrest. Rampart tells Lama Su that Nayla Se was caught gathering medical personnel to flee Kamino. Lama Su feigns ignorance and promises to properly punish Nayla Se. However, Rampart states that he never found their clones to be impressive. He goes on to say he can use a scientist, but he can't use a politician. He He tells Lama Su that his services are no longer needed. Then he nods to the Dark Troopers. As Rampart and Nala Se exit, the doors close on the 2 remaining Dark Troopers positioning their weapons to execute Lama Su. In a cell on Daro, Hunter sits patiently. He looks up to find Crosshair standing outside his cell. Crosshair enters and tells Hunter that he was hoping for the whole squad, but that Hunter will do. And now for the questions of Bad Batch's overall mission and purpose. Will Clone Force 99 fix their own inhibitor chips? This question was answered in Episode 7, Battle Scars. Will Clone Force 99 get back Crosshair and fix his inhibitor chip? This issue was not addressed in this episode. Will Clone Force 99 save their brothers? This episode directly addresses this issue of Bad Batch's clone brothers. Gregor is a proxy for the clones as a whole. Hunter finds the path that will lead to Gregor, and though he does hesitantly at first, he leads his squad in to rescue Gregor. I think that this is a foreshadow to future seasons in which they will be called to save their brother clones through a redeeming act, and that act will have a cost. Someone will have to pay somehow, maybe with their life. Will Clone Force 99 reconcile the clones with the Jedi? This issue was not addressed in this episode. 2 things to note before I close. The first is about the theme. The struggle over the sense of self that the clone troopers and the TK troopers are engaged in is parallel to the struggle within Anakin Skywalker and Darth Vader. Darth Vader is the result of the full rejection by Anakin of himself to become what someone else is telling him he is. That someone being Palpatine. This is what makes this episode so compelling. Anakin and Vader don't even have to be in the episode for us to feel the connection that the clones and their former Jedi General have. The second is that the name of the episode is War Mantle, which is the name of an operation that Tarkin and Rampart are working on. We clearly know now that the operation is the destruction of the clone program, the off-ramping of the clone army, most likely through death, to an all-volunteer human army, and the elimination of the Kaminoan leadership. In Star Wars Rogue One, Operation War Mantle is referred to when Jyn and Cassian are in the data room looking for the Death Star plans. Thanks for watching, and if you like the content in today's video, please hit the like button, leave a comment, share, or subscribe.